Alright, hello everyone. We are from Group 2. Here we are going to discuss about globalization and democracy. Before we start, let me introduce myself first. My name is Griselda Leandra da Costa y Silva. I would like to share my thoughts about democracy. Democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by people. First of all, we need to define democracy based on two distinct criteria, which we call participation or accountability dimension and political pluralism dimension. Noted that accountability and pluralism are different things. And I continue to think that democracy is the best game in town and also the best system for adapting public policy to the world's new economic challenges. Democracy is when it lets me express my voice, gives me the right to be who I am. Democracy should be representative and not oppressive. Majority is not right and the minority is not wrong. We must practice democracy in totally tolerant and respectful actions because in the end, all the opinions matter and all the ideas are worthy. The more we talk to those with different opinions, the more we will see that neither pluralism nor accountability function well on its own, and indeed that they only flourish in unison. Well, on the other hand, it's about globalization. In my opinion, making the Earth a more globally interconnected planet is a good thing, something to build upon, to preserve, and to cherish, which we call globalization. As we know, the world it goes round and round. Globalization is a misunderstood concept today, and to be called someone who is a globalist is not exactly to pay them a compliment. Actually, what are the things that allow globalization to happen? And what are those processes that make it work? Well, we have to get past the idea that is something that is associated with predatory international capitalism, imperialism, and colonialism, the erosion of national identities, the destruction of tropical rainforests, and the challenges of climate change and pandemic diseases. The process by which the people of the world come closer together, the engine that makes globalization happen is human capital, which means it's the result of human productivity, that humans are resourceful. On the other hand, it's the cosmopolitan spirit, means a willingness to interact with and learn from people who are different from yourself. This engine is what allows human capital comes together in a big, bold, exciting ways, like the emergence of religions that anyone and anywhere can believe in, or creating a global system of trade that can make things easier. But through time and space, there will be sharing of knowledge, increasing the sophistication to solve the problems. In conclusion, do the best we can to make the world a better place and always be nice to people whenever possible.
My name is Noni Bonaparte. Now I would like to introduce about the democratic globalization. Democratic globalization is a social movement that supports an institutional global democratic system that gives the world's population the right to express opinions in world organization. Democratic globalization transcends nation-states, corporate oligopolies, ideological NGO, cults, and the mafia. How does democracy relate to globalization? Democracy is related to globalization, such as democratic globalization supporters state that the choice of political orientation should be left to the world's citizens via their participation in world democratic institution and direct vote for the world precedence, or we can say see presidentialism. The three proponents state the democratic globalization purpose is to the first one, expand globalization and make people closer and more united. This expansion should differ from economic globalization and make people closer, more united and protected. Because of a variety of opinions and proposals, it is still unclear what this would mean in practice and how it could be realized. The second one, have it reach all fields of activity and knowledge, including governmental and economic, since the economic one is crucial to develop the well-being of world citizens. The third one, give world citizens democratic access and a say in those global activities. For example, presidential voting for United Nations, Secretary General by citizens, and direct election of members of a United Nations Parliamentary Assembly. The impact of economic and financial globalization. There is positive feedback from economic and financial globalization to political democratization. The exchange of goods and services is a conduit for exchange of ideas, and more diverse stock of ideas encourage political competition. In financially open economics, moreover, the government must be transparent in order to gain the confidence of the markets, and transparency spells doom for autocratic regimes. So let's say those impressed by how difficulties of managing financial globalization spurred the transition to a more open and competitive democratic system in South Korea and Indonesia. For economics, globalization refers to the expansion of economic transaction and the organization of economic activities across political boundaries of nation states. More precisely, it can be defined as a process associated with increasing economic advance, growing economic interdependence, and deepening economic integration in the world economy. But globalization is a multidimensional phenomenon. Its implications and consequences are not confined to the economy alone but extend to polity and society. There can be little doubt that the whole is different from, if not greater than, the sum total of the parts. The relationship between globalization and democracy is related to economy. It begins with a simple analytical construct derived from economics that suggests trade-off between globalization, the nation state, and democratic politics. In reality, of course, the relationship is neither linear nor characterized by structural rigidities. It then analyzes the relationship between market economy and political democracy in a national context to show that it is interactive, so that such an approach is useful for an understanding of the international context. It leads into a discussion on how globalization might constrain degrees of freedom for nations, states, and space for democratic politics. But this provides an incomplete picture because the causation runs in both directions. The essential next step is to consider whether political democracy within countries might exercise some checks and balances on markets and globalization, which also provides a closure. In summary or conclusion, my argument is that the relationship between globalization and democracy is dialectical and does not conform to ideological caricatures.
Hello, my name is Calista Teodoro de Carvalho. So, in this session, I would like to present about globalization and democracy. So, the introduction, the modern world has been spaced by globalization and democracy with technology driving interconnectedness among countries, economics, and cultures. Although globalization has advantage, its effects on democracy are still up for debate. In this essay, the intricate connection between globalization and democracy is examined along with the shifting dynamic problems, and opportunities they bring. Globalization is a phenomenon that unites economic, society, and cultures from all around the world. Technology development promotes economic expansion and diversity by facilitation international trade, communication, and culture exchange. Issues facing democracy. Democracy governance is a challenging by globalization. Corporates and other unelected groups have an impact on national politics, policies, undermining democracy legitimacy and state sovereignty. Democracy is further threatened by income inequality and cultural homogeneization, and as well concentrates and local cultures are marginalized. So next topic is about opportunities for democracy. Additionally, globalization promotes democracy opportunities, cross borders exchange of knowledge, expertise, and best practices, and can strengthen grass, grassroots movements and civil society organizations. Information sharing activities and governments accountability are all made possible by digital technologies. Economy interdependency encourages diplomatic solution and international cooperation. Next is about the role of global governance. Effective global governance is essential as a globalization cross national boundaries. Global policies are shaped by organizations like the WTO and IMF, but international cooperation. Next is about the role of global governance. Effective global governance is essential as a globalization cross national boundaries. Global policies are shaped by organizations like the WTO and IMF, but issues with democracy, legitimacy, and transparency still exist. Initiatives for regional integration, such as the European Union, serve as an example of how to balance globalization and democracy principles. Next is about making decisions with inclusion. For the challenges of globalization to be addressed, inclusive decision making is essential. Governments, institutions, and civil society should marginalized groups more power. At the national and international levels, transparency and accountability increase the legitimation of democracy. So the next is about education and media literacy. To successfully navigate globalization and democracy, it is crucial to promote education and media literacy. Citizens need to the capacity for effective participation, critical thinking, abilities, and global awareness. Understanding biases and evaluation information are key to having informed discussion and holding governance accountable. So, in conclusion, these are opportunities and challenges in the relationship between globalization and democracy. Global governance reforms, inclusive decision making, and a focus on media literacy are all necessary to strike a balance between the advantage of globalization and the protection of democracy principles. Society can work towards inclusive, just as sustainable development in our interconnected world by embracing these measures. So that's all for me. Thank you.